Stand up, don't drown in the dust. The land of the sand one's a prize on your hand. Hold tight, don't lose your way, chasing for the glory to the end. Don't run, be the one, bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye, win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the Ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground of the pyramid of life. Let the spirit get you high, 'cause we are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Stand up, don't drown in the dust. The land of the sand knows the answer in your head. Hold tight, it's worth the try, chasing for the glory in the fight. Don't run, you're the one, bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye, win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the Ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground of the pyramid of life. Let the spirit get you high, 'cause we are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Even when you fall, sticks and stones may break your bones, but you are stronger than the heaviest waves. The earthquake won't shake you, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen, you are the truth of the land. You rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. You rise up higher, conquer the Ark. Get ready to fight for your life. You rise up, climb to the highest ground of the pyramid of life. Let the spirit get you high, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen. You will rise up to the top. Stand up, don't drown in the dust. The land of the sand one's a prize on your hand. Hold tight, don't lose your way, chasing for the glory to the end. Don't run, be the one, bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye, win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the Ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground of the pyramid of life. Let the spirit get you high, 'cause we are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Stand up, don't drown in the dust. The land of the sand knows the answer in your head. Hold tight, it's worth the try, chasing for the glory in the fight. Don't run, you're the one, bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name?
What is going on, governors? Chiskel here, and today we're casting the Ark of Osiris League. This is going to be an exciting matchup. It's a win and in matchup, I think. I mean, the teams have to perform to proceed to the next round. And we are going to be joined in just a moment by the esteemed Dragothian. In fact, dude, let me get you into this cast. Hold on. Let's get you in here. Hey, Dragothian, how are you, man?
Oh, I couldn't be any better. I'm looking forward to another solid match. I enjoyed the one we had this morning, where we saw 60MX take out another big alliance, Wib from 846. That was a pretty decent one. I know you were playing yourself in TR and causing some waves and making some pictures. So hopefully we have another solid match going forward for us today. And I'm always glad to join each school whenever casting the Osiris League playoffs together.
Yeah, man. Great to have you here. I'm really hyped for all the matchups today. I think we're going to do a couple things this morning. First, I want to go over some of the matches that have already happened. And then I want to talk about the match that's about to happen and why it's significant. And as I mentioned at the start, like, they got to win. Both of them have one win. So to proceed, you probably got to get the 2 wins. In fact, we'll look at the scoreboard and confirm that that's exactly how this is going to go in just a moment. However, before we jump in there, anything you want to share from your experience watching the matchups this morning?
So don't think that, I guess the takeaway from this morning, because we saw some pretty stellar play, and then we also saw some sneaky plays, aka some sneaky tactic plays.
Wait, really?
Yeah, we did.
There were some sneaky tactics?
There was some sneaky tactics involved. It was towards the end. It was kind of interesting because Bubba and I had kind of talked about it earlier in the match, and we were like, he brought up, he's like, hey, I'm looking to see if maybe they're going to be bringing up some sneaky plays, some tricks out of their sleeves kind of situation. And my counter to that was, well, they both already have 2 wins. They're both going to the next round. Why would they show their hand and do something like that? It's always possible, of course, but to me, I didn't think that was going to happen. And of course, the whole match, I'm like, yeah, I'm right. I mean, come on, let's we know what's going on. But then they completely threw it out of the water. The last arc had sneaky tactics showcase. So if you have not seen that yet, after this stream, make sure you go back and check the first match of the morning. The whole thing is a complete and total show to watch, but towards the 80% mark on that video, you want to make sure that you see that arc, that last arc spawn, and how it was fought for. Go see what we're talking about.
Nice. I love a good sneaky tactics play, man.
It's good.
I'll have to go check that out. I'm really hyped for that now. Last season, TR did a sneaky tactics maneuver that was pretty cool. I mean, like,
it sure did.
I don't know. I always kind of show how I'm feeling. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, I can't trick anybody of anything. Like, I can't convince you, right? Like, no, I can't fool you. That is. So let's go see how the rest of the matches went this morning. I'm gonna jump into a new view here. Show you my iPad. And we get a look at the scores. So on the screen, we've got the scoreboard for the realm of Horus. We'll just sort of cruise through these. The DKV1 versus TR match. That's the match I was playing in this morning. About 20K to 59K. C9N versus JST. This is a tough match because I think this was an elimination match for C9N.
Sure was. Yep.
So C9N has always proceeded very far into Ark of Osiris League. I think well past the sort of this round of elimination. So it's very significant, and it's tough when you're up against JST, former champions, and you can see that champion banner, right, with the 1 indicator on there. They've won 1 time. I mean, that is not who you'd want to have to play against for your elimination round. So that's a tough bracket that they were in.
Yeah, they're not quite out yet. BG does have to still win to take over that 2nd spot, but they are facing the 4th ranked team in their group this bracket. So it's a good chance that C9N did in fact lose their match and lose their continuation into the playoffs. However, I will say, and this is something we did talk about towards the end of the last match, C9N just really unlucky with some of their placements inside some of these groups. They have made it decently far inside of these playoffs, but they just seem to keep getting matched with the top tier, cream of the crop, best of the best alliances in these qualifying group rounds. And even the next round, I think a season or two ago, they got through the group round finally, but then they got matched up with the previous winners or something like that, where it's just they keep getting the heavy hitters early on and not really getting much luck to go forward and maybe possibly get into the finals and then kind of to see what happens, considering it's a one and done. So
Yeah.
it was rough. It was rough.
Sometimes the bracketing just really doesn't work in your favor, you know? Like some brackets are definitely tougher than others, and I don't know exactly how they're seeded. I would be very curious to explore at some point. The next match on the list here, NNAV versus SK57, 59,900 to 16,500. It's a pretty commanding victory. 88XO versus 412A, the Hawks, also known as the alliance where Baba used to be, right?
Used to
so
being
he's
the
no
keyword,
longer
yes.
there, but that team is still doing their thing with a 10,000 point victory. I mean, that's a strong victory.
Sure is. I mean, most of these matches here, I mean, you see the blackjack match against the SX54 folks. That was kind of a blowout with 61,000 on the blackjack side. Blackpink, same kingdom. Both alliances looking to try and move forward in this Osiris League playoffs. And really, I mean, these guys aren't really super well known in the playoff circle just yet, but they've made a name for themselves, both Blackjack and Blackpink, by winning some pretty sizable matches against some pretty decent teams early in this group round.
Yeah. I mean, there's really, I think, a number of kingdoms where a whole bunch of players actually moved into the kingdom. Right? I think 1021 is an example. I think 1008, that's Kingdom 8, is another example of that, where I don't think that those players started in that kingdom, but they migrated their way over, built a really great team, and built a really strong community there. Up next in the list here, and there's only 2 more matches to review this morning, and what I find interesting, actually, is that none of them were nail-biters. Like, none of them were really, really close. Like, yeah, an Ark this way or that way could have made a difference, but for the most part, it didn't come down to the wire.
Yeah, in Realm of Horus, that's definitely the case. Realm of Anubis, however, quite a few nail-biters. I know that that's not what's necessarily being shown on the screen, but just to comment on it, DNS losing by just under 1,000 points. That was a very close match.
Yeah.
We also have towards the bottom, we have a 3,000, 4,000 point match that we saw this morning, even though it was pretty well owned by 60MX, controlling the majority of the match and really doing what they needed to do to win more so than dominating. Looks a lot closer than it really was. 60MX really taking the victory there. So the rest of the matches, again, being very, very spaced out, almost a 2-to-1 from a point differential standpoint. The rest of the realms, too, there's a couple other ones that were very, very squeaky. Evil Empire in Realm of Bastet only winning by 900 points against DQ39. That was a big win for EE against DQ39. They were an underdog betting-wise. Same thing with 82M, almost beating 01HK. That was a huge underdog for 82M that almost played out in their favor. Almost a 1 billion point power difference there between those two alliances. I mean, just solid matches across all the 4 realms. I'm really excited to see how these realms have fleshed out, because when they first started changing the realms and it being more than one realm at the very beginning, it started to look a little bit too lackadaisical. But now that all these teams have kind of spread out, have fleshed out across all these realms, it's looking like each one of these realms has solid matches to watch and solid teams to look out for.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and the match is about to begin, so I think I want to shift very briefly just to kind of cover the teams we're about to watch.
Let's do it.
And then they'll get into their warm-up period for the first 3 minutes, so we can talk about it a little longer while they're warming up here. But 114K and 44E each have one victory, and Blackpink, as you were talking about earlier, they secured their 3rd win. So this is winning in. I mean, you have to win to continue. So one of these teams will be eliminated at the end of this. And if we look at 114K, they lost to Blackpink, and that was a 44,000 to 36,000 match, so an 8,000 point spread. And if we look at 44E, They lost to Blackpink, but by a larger spread. So I don't know if that's an indicator of kind of how this is going to go, or if their strategies, may counter each other in some unexpected way. One team goes buildings, one team goes arcs. However, I think it's time we get into the match and find out. What do you think, Dragothian?
Let's do it. I can't wait. This is one of a couple matches that are looking like they're going to be absolutely stellar to watch.
Yes, let's jump in this match. Here we go. Entering now. On the screen, 2 minutes and 25 seconds for the entry period for these teams. And in blue, 114K. The combatants on the screen now. 444E, our combatants today. I will point out they have a very small number of subs, so I think that they really expect everybody to be there. And a few highlights. Look at this. Osiris score 200. Provision score 18,000. 123 Cami. That is pretty noteworthy there. And then for 44E, yeah, 6,480. Big difference in provision score. Do you think that's an indicator that 114K is going to do more provisioning?
So I believe these numbers are averages and additions based off the actual grouping of it. So for provisions, I think this is an addition of multiple matches, whereas the kill scores, I think those could be more alongside of average between the three matches that have already played. So something to think about there. But I think that ultimately both teams are going to do some provisioning. I think that graphic showed that maybe the 114K side has some people that are really dedicated solely to doing that, whereas the 44E side may have a little bit of a different strategy regarding spreading out some of that task to 2, 3, 4 different people and giving each player the ability to do some more fighting than, say, just farming and getting those provisions in.
It does look like these folks are teleporting more players in. Seems like they've taken a very strategic route for picking who enters when, which I think is a common choice to kind of try to control where people are physically located in that initial starting zone. I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, I had thought there was a group of folks that actually migrated from Kingdom 114 to the same kingdom as C9N. So I wonder, sort of how much of the original 114 powerhouse Ark team is over there, or if they all stayed. I did notice the leader here is 550 million power. No big deal.
Wow. Yeah, no slouch. $500 million.
$500 million, yeah.
And decent kill points, too, so it's not like he's just sitting there, banking the power. But match getting started, man. Looking to see all these T1 Cav out and about, trying to get those structures. We saw earlier in the morning, we saw Wib take both of their structures first, or at least their first obelisk first, and also securing all their outposts before 60MX and ended up losing. So I don't necessarily think that this is indicative of who's going to win. However, it's always to your benefit to give yourself an advantage to get your obelisks first and get your outposts as quickly as possible, not only from a point generation standpoint, but especially with your obelisks. You want to get those obelisks first so that you can teleport in quicker, start your rallies quicker, get on the field quicker. All those things compile and stack up to what is going to be, I think, is going to be a contentious desert altar fight on both lanes, outside top and outside bottom, and ultimately seeing how the middle fight starts to form.
We do see those fast cav moving through caravans, jumping to get that speed boost. Mobility talent tree on double C makes him an ideal candidate. Hasty departure. I believe it's 60% march speed for something like 10 or 15 seconds when you leave a structure, and those caravans do count. That is a nice way to get a quick boost into an obelisk, and blue is the first to get an obelisk, and not by a small amount. Easily, so far, at least 10 seconds ahead, and there it is. So a little bit of a head start. Also, I'm noticing that 3-minute timer. Going to zoom all the way in there. There's an ability called hard push. You can use at the start of the fight to reduce the time that it takes to capture a building. And it does look like perhaps that's been used by blue, because I don't think they got there a whole minute plus ahead of the team in red.
Yeah, that's definitely correct.
Hard push could change the tempo here pretty meaningfully. And the significance of this actually extends far beyond the initial captures, because the team in red That's 44E. They are going to have 3 extra ability points for the mid-fight, assuming that they haven't used any ability points at all up to this point. That's very meaningful. I mean, 3 ability points, man, that's a bog down. That's a bog down. You slow them down, and you also reduce their defense by 30%. I like it.
Yeah, that could definitely be the difference in the middle, especially for that Ark fight. I don't know if I've seen a lot of teams kind of toy around with that kind of strategy. I don't know if that's necessarily one of those addition by subtraction things, though, just simply because it does 2 things to your team. One, it puts you on the back foot from a teleporting in standpoint, which means reinforcements coming in for that first initial Desert Altar hold before the first Ark is going to be a minute delayed, which is a big problem when it comes to 750 points up front on your total score being lost if you end up losing that Desert Altar. And as we're seeing on the screen here, we have 114K positioning very strongly in that Desert Altar area of 44E. So, I mean, this could be a big thing that could cause a big problem. And then the other thing is, I mean, the first Ark is only worth 3,000 points. You got multiple other Arks inside of this match that are increase in point value as you continue to go through the match. So I don't know if the 3 points is worth all that being on your heels, being on your back foot at the beginning of this match, especially when you're trying to position positively.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. 114K is really going for it.
Yep.
They've got many reinforcement marchers going all the way to the obelisk. They are trying to end this match before it even starts. And these 44E players need to adjust urgently. I think that the YSS captain they have is not premium against the Relic Minamoto, most likely, with the XY primary. This is actually a fairly dire situation that 44E finds themselves in, which would be completely averted by hard push.
Yep.
And these players walking by may not even realize just how dire this situation is. Oh, man. 35 seconds. They've got to hold on, and I just don't know that they can. Another march turning around to try to cover tail here because the obelisk is under serious threat of being taken.
They've got 20. They have to get this thing in 20 seconds or else the port-ins are going to start happening. However, again, I mean, they've got reinforcements here on this this rally, on this structure, and those are big numbers coming off of that YSS Theodora. 5 seconds left. It might be just enough. I think they might have just enough to get this thing done. But wow, what a again, just back foot, right? Having to deal with that, and then looking at the Desert Altar just above it with 10 seconds left. They are nowhere near a premium
there
position.
They are porting in. Hope they had predetermined teleport spots and aren't just winging it. But it looks like they did last a good bit longer than I would have expected here.
And
the
now
shielding.
they use hard push?
The shielding from YSS goes a long way. You think they just used hard push?
They did. I just saw it. 44E hard push.
Really? That's too little, too late, in my opinion. Ark is in 7 minutes. I feel like they're not going to be going for structures as much. And look at the altar game going on right now. This is a very interesting game to watch. So we see two. Oh, everything's just switching.
Yep.
So both on the left side of the screen were owned by blue, and on the right side of the screen were owned by red, and then they just switched. So they own their own sides, respectively, for the close side altars for each team.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's going to switch
understand.
again for sure. This swarming is going to knock out whatever's in there. Oh no! Okay, Xeno captain. Hey, that'll hold. That'll hold.
Should hold. I don't understand the delay on that hard push. That was, to me, a big mistake. I don't know if they just forgot, or to me it looks like they timed it to when they wanted to, because they wanted to have it done right before the Desert Altar on the opposing side unlocked, which gave them maximum time. But you have a 10-minute timer.
Look at this rally.
Hard push.
Drago.
It just didn't make sense.
What are they doing? They are swinging a rally around opposite side. And they're going to wait. Where are they going? Not Shrine of War? Are they going to break this?
Rally? Yeah.
Are they going? They're going obelisk, baby. Hey, you know what? I launched a rally on one obelisk. It almost worked. I'm going to rally the other one, right?
Maybe it's a timing thing. All the rallies that are happening right now are coming from the blue team. So, I mean, there's no rallies for the red team right now. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they didn't use hard push at the beginning. They don't have the people there. That being said, they did take the Desert Altar on the top lane from 114K again. So resetting the claim timer for this structure. And 44E actually has that area pretty well secured 1 minute and 15 seconds until it goes red, they may actually get that first cap for the Desert Altar on the 114K side.
You know, holding 3 altars is kind of a big deal here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it surely is. I wish they would hold it with something besides a Guan, but you know, the Guan is there.
Guan
and he's doing
MVP,
what he
man.
needs
Let's
to do,
go.
you know? Yeah, I mean, they've got so many rallies. Does 114K out on the field? They're heavily pressuring the Sky Altar on the top lane. In fact, taking that Sky Altar away from 44E. There, having the offensive Sky Altar on the top lane for 114K. But I think that this Desert Altar on the top lane, now having a Jadwiga YSS, is going to be a tough nut to crack for 114K to do. With only 4.5 minutes left to go, I think this is probably the latest I've ever seen the middle being this empty. Only one player with a YSG primary, by the way, sitting by the temple for 44E. Everybody else is out on the sides fighting. Nothing
It's
happening
weird.
in the middle. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Paging 114K and 44E. The Ark of Osiris is spawning. Paging 114K and 44E. The Ark of Osiris is spawning in 4 minutes and 4 seconds.
yeah, they're going late to middle, that's for sure. I mean, both teams are apparently running a building strategy, and a couple marches are like, hey, wait a minute. Wait, if they don't go and we don't go, then maybe we should go. And then they're starting to be like, hold on, we should go. I mean, there's a few marches starting to make their way into the middle, and this is a shockingly small amount of mid presence.
Yeah, and you know, we're talking about the structure game, right? I mean, 44E only has 3 of their, or I guess 2 of their really self structures and one of the offensive structures on the top lane for themselves now. And 114K has taken the entire outer lane on both lanes in favor of the blue team, and they are now ticking points, by the way. Those are both captured. Guan again on the garrison on that Sky Altar on the top lane for 114K this time. Maybe there's a secret that we're not aware of, Chisco, where Guan is a captain, you know?
Maybe people saw my open field ratings where I said he was like the best of the best and got a little confused and thought he should be a garrison captain too, which is definitely not the case. He's a great commander though. And maybe what's happened here is that Guan is such a good commander to swarm the garrison.
Yep, that's exactly.
Right? That they got a bunch of Guans over here, and inevitably one of them ends up as the captain. And if you don't bring a captain downfield as a part of your attack, then you end up in this weird situation where it's like, yeah, we got it, but not for long because there's not a proper captain. And, you know, even just commanders that have garrison skills without the garrison tree can do pretty decently.
Yeah, you know, looking at 44E, I will say just across the map, they are responding very well. They did get that first initial capture for the Desert Altar on the 114K side at the top lane. So that's why they do have an 1,100, almost 1,200 point lead going into this middle fight. And they are positioned very strongly for that middle fight as well. However, 114K is starting to pour in those troops coming in from the base, mostly, by the way, not really from the sides, which is interesting. They're still very much putting some pressure on opposing structures and also defending their own with a hard push coming from 4E, no pun intended, 44E, no pun intended, going to those offensive structures on the 114K side. So there's a lot of moving parts happening right now across the map. There's certainly a lot of blinking buildings, but everything's even at the moment, and it's looking like it may stay that way with maybe 1 or 2 buildings going one way or the other. But I think that ultimately this middle fight is going to dictate who jumps out to a possible commanding lead or who evens things up with the points per minute total.
Yeah, I'm hyped to see this mid fight. I mean, it looks like people got the memo. Glad I paged everybody there because now we've got a good crew in the middle. And it's interesting to see 114K kind of creeping up the side here, observing that 44E is standing in front of the temple area. They're just going to sneak around the side. And what's so interesting about that is that sort of getting access to the Ark at an attack vector I wouldn't have expected here. Baiting in a little bit, and then, are they going to bait them in? I mean, this could happen. This could be a bait right here. A couple marches falling for the bait, and, I mean, they get pretty melted pretty quickly. XY is not designed to handle 10 marches swarming it, that's for sure.
No, that's definitely not a thing. Relentless Siege being used by 114K. That's another interesting choice of skill.
Uncommon, right?
During the middle fight. Maybe posturing what is likely to be more of a structure-based game here for that first arc. For War Drums being used and we also have the mystical formation skill being used by both teams here, at least by 44E having mystical formation. I think 114K did use both as well. So interesting to see the selection of skills and the timing that these two teams are using on some of these skills are not conventional. Ark is available to be taken.
Yeah, there it is. Ark's in. Fast carrier, left side is what I saw. Oh, nope. Too slow. Chisco Luna, 44E is the carrier. Okay. And just as fast as they picked it up, the Ark is now down. I think that this is the sort of mid-brawl where there's probably not going to be a breakaway. I think the thing that's going to shape who runs with this Ark is who's left standing.
Yeah, I agree. There's some solid rallies going across the map as well while we're watching this middle fight. Just to describe them for you so you can keep watching the middle here. Both altars for 44E are under duress, but 44E does have a decent number of reinforcements / folks that can handle a rally and some reinforcements from 114K. So especially on the Desert Altar side bottom, that advance from 114K was pretty much quickly nullified. The Xeno sitting inside that garrison looking very, very strong. However, very, very strong push from 114K down to the Shrine of Life on the bottom lane as well. And that looks like that may go down in favor of 114K. Top side, again, pretty well held by 44E, but it could go either way on that Sky Altar. Shrine of War on the top lane looking basically untouched. And this middle fight looking very strong.
Yeah.
For 44E.
I mean, I think what just happened, as you were describing, is that 114K spread themselves very, very thin, attacking many buildings at the same time, and only being marginally successful in that process, which cost them the Ark, because imagine all these players that went to the Shrine. Sure would have been helpful to have that many bodies in the middle, and if they get the Shrine, how long do they have to hold it to get an Ark worth of points? Feels like a choice there that they're going for the building game instead of the Ark game, and they had a token amount of players to middle so that it wasn't just completely free. It was nearly completely free, right? Like, no one was there for a very long time, and then both teams sort of realized, but 114, I think, kept the pressure up on the buildings, and now they're seeing the fruits of their labor. 2 buildings in their hands, 3 buildings in their hands, only the altar remaining in the hands of 44E and the Ark. How do you feel about that, Drago?
I mean, this will take some time to generate some points to see if it was worthwhile or not. But I will say the Sky Altar on the bottom lane on the 114K side currently garrisoned against a Pakal Herald using Ethelfled. So it's looking a little dire for them on that Sky Altar, even though they do have some reinforcements there. Maybe the garrison for that particular structure, there we go, went a little rogue and finally got in there.
We got the Xeno.
But yeah, that Ark is looking dangerous, a little bit dangerous considering where it's going to. I think that Xeno does look pretty strong and stout, though. It looks like they may be looking to grab this Ark very quickly if they're not taking it back to their obelisk.
This feels like a weird choice to me. I don't really know why you'd walk the Ark directly into a threat.
Here comes 114K too.
And yeah, I mean, this is the riskiest scoring vector on the map, potentially.
Yeah.
Is to your own altar. And in that vein, directly toward where your enemy wants to be going anyways. Especially when you're not winning the building game as it stands. So you're forfeiting the opportunity to hold this Ark. You have to cap the Ark immediately. And look, the whole team is going on the Ark now. They escorted it. So they went for the instant Ark capture, which again feels weird to me. Unless they did something with their ability points there, such that they feel very confident that they can do this again. And I will say, was it 114 that used the building-related ability before or while the Ark battle was happening? Because they did get a lot of buildings.
Relentless Siege is what they used. And yes, they did do that. Okay. And I think that did assist a little bit in capturing these structures. But to make that work, you need to have all those structures that they had for 5 minutes. And right now, they've had them for about 2. So, I mean, it's looking like this will likely even up quite nicely for 114K. Although I will say, as soon as I say that, they just lost their altar on the top lane to 44E and still have not secured, or weren't able to secure, I should say, the bottom lane Desert Altar. And now seeing blood, 44E is pushing hard on the bottom lane towards that Shrine of War with a rally behind in support. This is going to be a major push for 44E, and this could be a turning point in this match because not only did they just secure that arc, but now they're going to start changing that game from a structure standpoint to possibly taking some battle stats away.
Yeah, I feel like for that building push to have been worth for 114K, they really needed more time on all those structures. It seems like they really didn't get enough time. And I also kind of question that Shrine of Life play. Especially, can you imagine if instead of Shrine of Life, they'd gone for Altar, and the enemy team ultimately tried to score at that Altar? I mean, it would have been a much more contentious place to be if they had been closer to where the arc was going or could have gone.
Yeah, no, it definitely would have been. I think they did do somewhat of a push there, but the heavier push, as far as odds go, definitely went to that outside lane, and they still have that Shrine of Life, although it looks like it will eventually, again with a Guan Garrison, go down in favor of 44E, and 44E pushing hard on that Shrine of War, although 114K did respond appropriately. Another hard push coming from 114K, really focusing
double down
on these structures. Yeah, I mean, that middle fight went very well in favor of 44E, and they know how to transition. These garrisons, though, man, the garrison play on both sides has been seemingly a little bit behind the action when it comes to the field play, because I'm seeing a lot of Saladin, a lot of Ethelfled, a lot of Guan garrisons on both sides. I mean, it's and I said this in the last match, it's so hard to get these garrisons to these structures quickly and efficiently, especially when we're talking about having 10 marches swarming all these structures at any given time.
Yeah, it's tough because you might want your captain to get in. You might even already be there, but if you swarm a structure with multiple marches, your captain may not be the one that actually jumps in first. And then you got to go through the sort of musical chairs of removing your march, and of course first figuring out which one was in there, and then swapping in the new captain, and then promoting them to captain, and you get the idea. And that's all assuming you even have the captain there to be made the captain there to get promoted.
Right. Yeah, we got 3 altars in favor of 114K, which is definitely going to work in their favor, considering they're spending almost the majority, if not all of their points, alliance skill-wise, on structures. So this is helpful considering there's only 4.5 minutes left to go in the arc spawning. And right now, looking at that, that's giving 114K a little bit of a breathing room, taking that Desert Altar and Shrine of War on the top lane too, to bring a few marches to the middle to start getting positioned correctly for their push to possibly get this next arc, which would be worth 500 points more. Points per minute wise, we're looking very strong in favor of 114K, 590 points per minute versus only 280 for 44E. And if they can hold these 2 structures that they just took, which looks like, again, the Guan on the Shrine of War is not going to hold that against the 44E swarm to start ticking any points. That will look like it go in favor back of 44E. But this Desert Altar, having a proper garrison, a Monotori, holding strong against a heavy swarm from 44E, and even that Guan's holding up pretty well.
Yeah, a Monotori is not conventionally the commander I would pick for an anti-swarm situation, which is exactly what they need here. So it's an interesting choice, and I'm inclined to believe that it might even just be a field march that's been promoted. To like, hey, you're the captain, available. Right? Yep. Like, yeah. It's as I was describing earlier, even if they don't have the talents applied to the, garrison trees, or to the garrison build, they can still do pretty decently with a Monotori and Artemisia, and the ability to at least not get silenced is kind of nice if you've got that secondary lined up correctly.
Yeah, it definitely does help. The Desert Altar going back down in favor of 44E. This structure game being played by 114K, it's very strong. I mean, they're taking structures, no doubt. But to make that work while not winning arcs on the back end of that, you need to hold these structures. And that's something that 114K is proving not to be able to do so far. 44E definitely being able to take these structures back within 2, 3, 4 minutes, which, again, the points per minute total, looking at it, right, again, still 590 versus 210. It's in favor of 114K, but that's a 300-point difference roughly. That's 10 minutes that you need to have that delta to equal the first arc that you get. That's just a lot of time that you're not getting those point totals actually generating the points. So, I mean, right now it's a 1,200 point game. It's looking like it's a little tighter. The altars definitely looking in favor of 114K again, although Shrine of Life on the top lane, 44E was able to take that, giving 114K a little bit of a dose of their own medicine from the last arc. But 2 minutes left on this arc with, again, very minimal amount of people in the middle. 44E kind of showing up a little late, but absolutely dominating the few marches from 114K that were sitting there.
It really feels like 114K is doubling down on the building strategy. 660 points per minute to 210. I mean, that's a nice 400 well, it just jumped around a little bit. Now 690 points per minute for the team in red. That's 44E. It's a nice points per minute lead, but they're really forfeiting the arc. I mean, you can see they've got like a small number of marches that are getting really pushed around right now, as red is really starting to commit and position to claim this arc. I mean, 1 minute and 17 seconds, and I see 10 marches from blue and many more from red and many more coming.
I mean, this the Shrine of Life down here looks like it will stay 44E at least for a while. Not enough of a pressure structure-wise from 114K to take that. And like you said, I mean, the points per minute right now, it's about a 220-point delta, which is only going to get smaller considering, again, these red structures are going to start ticking points soon. 20 seconds until the Shrine of Life on the 114K side. For that red structure to start taking blue points. And again, all the other structures, 1 minute and 40 on the Sky Altar top lane left before 44E starts getting points for that. I mean, they haven't gotten an arc, and the arc just is about to spawn here in 25 seconds. 44E absolutely dominating the middle. There's no presence whatsoever from 114K, and it's still a 600, 500 point match in favor of 44E, but now another arc looks to be like it's going to go in the favor of 44E. And if they just keep winning these arcs and do maybe a little bit better job on holding some of these altars in their favor, that could spell disaster for 114K.
Yeah, I feel like if I were in the driver's seat for the 114K strategy, or if I was in the room, I think the thing I would be talking about would be like, hey, we've got to do a better job at getting our captains into these structures that we're taking and fighting by the structures that the enemy seems to want to cap the arc at. I think they're going back to the altar again.
Yep.
So those would be my two like mid-battle adjustments. Because, okay, if you're going to run a building strategy, like you have to have the proper captain in play the second or shortly after you get the structure. Otherwise, it just flips back, and I don't know that you're getting the value you really kind of need to get from that maneuver.
Yeah, and traditionally that'll be a Jadwiga just because of the speed of Cav. Being forward facing. You want to have like a Jadwiga Theo or a Jadwiga YSS to really assess and keep that. Now, obviously, some new commanders coming in another week or so that could dictate some changes on some of those combos with Nevsky and Bertrand coming out. But I think that 44E continuing to pull back here on the Desert Altar side on that bottom lane with the arc in hand. I mean, 114K's got a few marches there kind of causing a little bit of problems, but I think at the end of the day, they're just going to get wiped like they were earlier. That's exactly what's happening right now. I think that, 114K, if they're really focusing on the structure game, they need to do more to make sure that they're getting the points that they need, because right now it's an even game. 114K does have a little bit of a points per minute advantage right now, but that will change within a minute. And again, 3,500 points in the pocket, at least for right now, for 44E, and that Desert Altar is clear.
Yeah, it does look like the arc carrier kind of, well, maybe not. I thought they'd kind of seen what we were seeing, which is that this is a really dangerous lane for that carrier to get ambushed from, and running it to the altar is a really high-risk maneuver.
Hard push again.
But they started to go a different direction, and I don't know where they're running this thing. Maybe back to the obelisk now? It does seem like that's... Nope.
No, they're going to go to that Desert Altar.
Man, I laugh in the face of danger, says 44E. That's where they're headed, is to that altar, man. I'm taking that arc where I'm taking that arc, and I don't care what your team does. Come at me. I'm going to the altar.
Do you even lift, bro? I think that again they're gonna go capture this at the Desert Altar. 114K doing an okay job delaying, and maybe this is part of the strategy is delaying the arc to maybe delay to the point where it'll save one of the arcs at the end where it won't spawn quickly enough, and that will give 114K time to out provision and out structure in the last 10 minutes or so. That could be certainly to play the long play. That's definitely requiring a lot of forward thinking to do. And here comes a rally, a go-go rally against the Xeno for 114K. I mean, they've got the right rally on the structure. It's just 440 or 44E has the field presence to, or should have the field presence to reinforce this properly and swarm down that Gilga / swarming marches situation from 114K. And here comes the Ark with another salad and, kind of careening in towards that very contentious Desert Altar that we see on the map.
Yeah, I don't think that 114K has the presence to actually take this thing at this point. But I liked your insight that perhaps what they're trying to do is just stall it. I mean, if I'm running a building game, I've got 3 altars. Just keep you a little bit busy, try to prevent you from scoring it quite as fast. But yeah, is it enough delay to make up the 3,000 point gain? I don't know about that.
I mean, 44E is in the lead now again at this point. The altar for the Sky Altar on the top lane is currently blue, although it looks like it's about to go back red again. Again, not holding it, taking it, but not holding it. And when you're losing arcs on the back end consistently, you got to hold it to make that work. We're looking at about a 2,800 point delta in favor of the red team here. So it's a lot closer than it may seem. The points per minute total, again, still about 150 points in favor of 114K. I feel like even though they're not probably doing as well as they want to, 114K is doing just enough to keep this match where they want it. And again, at the end, if they can stop 44E from capturing that last arc or position it to where they win it, oh my goodness, they'll be in good shape because it's 2,700 points. That was a 3,500 point arc that a third of it's gone. A third of that point delta is gone already because of the point totals.
It's crazy to say. Do you think that they sort of lull 44E into a sense of security about the arc? Hope that 44E pops to the death, kind of on an arc where 114K wasn't going to contest it anyways, really. And then they show up in that last arc, boom, to the death, pop some big abilities, and 114K steals the arc. Is that what they're going for?
It definitely could. I mean, I think if you're trying to be more sound about it, right? Like instead of trying to play the mind game situation of what's my opponent going to do, and then what I need to do to react to that before they do it, and then they need to react to what I'm doing before they do what they're doing. They're probably doing the same thing. They're probably saving up their to the death, their Heaven's Grace for one arc. Like they feel like it might be that OV mentality of I just need to take one arc from my opponent to beat an OV style opponent where OV is continually used to winning that middle fight. If you can just stop them from winning one of those fights, you may take that victory because your structure game was strong and you denied one of the bigger point total arcs from going in their favor. That might be the 114K play here. I just have to say though, I mean, again, point per minute total is a roughly even number here, 70 points in favor of 114K per minute, with rallies going on both sides. Now the outpost game really starting to get played by 114K, taking 44E's outpost 2 out of the 3, causing some more disruption for 44E to have to deal with. But 44E is on the offensive, heavily taking that Sky Altar on the bottom lane, and having 2 minutes left to start generating points for them. You also have Outpost being taken by 44E on the 114K side. There's also a heavy swarm and rally on the Shrine of Life on the top side, which may go in favor of the red team. And also the Shrine of War is also heavily contested by 44E. So this may be a complete shift, a complete change. And now 114K is on the back foot, and they're starting to go towards the middle very, very early. Look how many people are in the middle now for 114K. They've stopped using their structure skills, haven't they?
Wow, that's it. Yeah,
right, as we just talked about. What you just talked about.
Now they go mid, right? And this whole time 44E is used to them not going mid, and then there they are. But they're losing. I mean, okay, they went mid, but now they're losing all their structures? Like, I don't know if that's... Like, I get the idea of getting to mid early, but something's going sideways on their defense here. To be able to support that mid push, you really kind of want to hold some of your stuff. At least they did get a grab on the Sky Altar for the opposing side, but they do have an Archer captain. You know, maybe what's going on here is they're running Archer rallies, and then they switch the Amanatori to captain. Maybe that's
what
why
we've
they're...
traditionally done. Yep. That's what
Yeah, maybe that's what they're doing.
Because we go up against lots of Xenos, so that Gilgan Nebu combo is very strong. Now, if you're going up against the Jadwigas, Gilgan Nebu is not.
No, I think it was a Jad here.
Oh,
I mean, but what's tough is you can't just like switch your gear on the fly. You know,
Yep.
like it's
Yep,
hard
yep.
to. It's really hard to adjust. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this, but you know, we're probably just getting to the point where people who have extensive collections of equipment can have 5 decked out marches plus a couple other marches of flex that are, you know, respectably geared up to use in a pinch as like a backup rally or a backup garrison, right?
Yeah, you know, 44E kind of taking a page out of what 114K was doing earlier and just took all the map there for quite a little bit of time. I don't think they had it long enough, especially on the bottom lane, to start generating many or any points, but the Shrine of Life on the top lane still in red hands, although the 114K team does have that altar on the top lane, still not taking points, 40 seconds left, and it looks like 44E will eventually take that back, but that could also maybe tick some points for 114K. So trying to eke out every little point they possibly can. 114K trying to take this middle fight, which again, you know, 44E is starting to pile up on the other side of that provisioning node there, trying to do what they can to take that middle fight again. 114K may have overpositioned here a little bit. I think that this could actually be the part where we really kind of see who is going to be pulling away with this and maybe who has the dominating presence to take what they need.
Yeah, I mean, 114K has to get this arc. 44E will be behind if they don't get this arc, but there's still 22 minutes left. So arc's going to spawn. There'll still be 20 minutes and 30 seconds left in the match. I mean, there's still potentially 2 arcs left in this game. Or, if they hold it, only 1 arc left. I think 114 has to get this at risk of it being held by 44E. And there's to the death. Very, very, very early to the death here. Wow. I'm very surprised the majority of the players that receive that buff still not even
behind the arc
in combat. Yeah.
Well, here we go.
Including the arc carrier. Let's go. And is that an arc carrier? Nope. Maybe. I mean, Alexander the Great, arc carrier, an unexpected arc carrier for
an
sure.
Unexpected hero. It's Alex Charles. So, I mean, if you're going to go with a speedy infantry march, that would be it. Both having march speed bonuses on their skills and on their expertise, or at least Charles has it on the expertise. So, you know, looking strong that way, but there's definitely speedier marches out there. I think that ultimately, though, I mean, we're looking at the players that are getting sent back home. I'm still seeing a lot more 114K go home than I am seeing 44E, and 44E continuing to pour more troops into the middle, whereas 114K really does not have any reinforcements on the back end. Have they already shifted to the structure game? It looks like they may have, but I don't see any support to any of these rallies. And now 44E using. Why would you use to the death there? You basically have it.
They already had that active, actually, I think, for the last 20 seconds or so. I was observing kind of a march off to the side. I saw a Saladin march from 44E that had...
So delay in skill.
Okay. Yeah, it's a delay in the announcement of the skills, but they had Mystical into the death active. So
got it.
I think there was a mirror play there by both teams for their skill choices, except I think Mystical is in the hands of 44E and not in the hands of 114K.
I see that.
And that defense boost may have made all the difference.
Wow, it's looking very strong. Now, I will say 114K is starting to pour some reinforcements in here now, but I think it may be too little too late. 44E having a very solid presence of all their marches right on top of this arc, and it is a neutral arc right now. It is capturable. Looks like some folks are trying to grab it right now on both sides, particularly on the 114K side, but looks like, yep, wow, there you go. 44E got it and going. Luna's double C is peeling out of there, trying to get that thing back to that desert altar like they have been doing all match. And with that being said, I mean, again, you've got the Shrine of Life here on the bottom going back in favor of 44E after being taken by 114K during that middle fight. Just not enough on the structure game. And if this is captured by 44E, this will give them about a 7,000 point lead going into what could be a final or almost final arc after this one's captured.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a much faster carrier than this. The double C primary with a mobility tree is really quick, and when you're below 50%, charge talents, another 30% march speed, you've definitely offset the slowness of the Ark of Osiris with the right talents, right equipment, and they're cruising right back to the risky attack vector of the Desert Altar, which, I mean, all it takes is for 114K to capitalize on it, and here they come. So, good thing for CC that he's so fast that it may not be an issue, but all it takes is for these two marches coming in, knock down the carrier. The rest of them make their way in there, and then things get dicey, and the carrier sees that they're a little bit at risk here, starting to run more in a southerly direction here, but still toward that altar. I mean, they just really are intent on scoring there, of all places, and maybe that's just for style points, right? It's kind of like a dunk. Put it at the place where they have the most access to from the enemy team.
I don't think it's style points. I wish it was, but I don't think it is. I think it's the closest one that's got more than 500,000 capacity. Is the name of the game here. It's what they're used to. It's probably what they've done all through Ark. Now, I will say, I mean, they have no presence at their Desert Altar right now. This double C will likely go down. It did
double
go
C's down. Double C's down. This is the
altar.
danger scenario. This is exactly the possibility of disaster that I have been foretelling the entire match. Rally in on the Desert Altar. Gilgamesh with Nebu Aram against Zeno. That's the counter. Hard counter at play. Luna picks up the Ark and loses it. And now, hard counter doing savage work on the Garrison. Garrison stands risk of falling. That Garrison falls, that Ark gets picked up, and Blue is right back in this matchup. That was a very risky play. Oh, wow, and what a grab. Red has the Ark. Can they score it? Oh, this is so dangerous. They might just score the Ark. That carrier is very healthy. Clean opportunity.
There it is.
Oh, wow. They were playing with fire in a way that was so completely unnecessary. Unfortunate for them, it worked out. Ooh, that got dicey.
You know, it burns because you're wicked, and I think they love that. So that's just really what it boils down to. With that being said, the Sky Altar on the top lane again in favor of Blue. 114K, not only in favor of them, but holding it fairly firmly with not only swarming the rally coming from 44E to continue to hold it with a mandatory garrison, proper garrison. I see a lot of archers around there as well to reinforce. And also holding 114K is their Desert Altar with a decent rally and swarm on the top lane too. Wow. I mean, just saw that. I was with you. I was staring at that Ark sitting right beside that Desert Altar for 44E and just anxiously awaiting for that to flip blue and then a blue team to grab. And, you know, luckily the grabbers for the Ark team folks on the 44E side are very, very strong when it comes to grabbing that Ark as soon as it drops. Otherwise, that could have been very devastating for them losing that Ark in that way.
Yeah, that was really, really close. I mean, I feel like every week that I cast, I talk about that one time where the enemy team had taken the Ark all the way to here, and the team I was playing on stopped them and marched that sucker all the way back to our own side and scored it. But
devastating.
It happens. That was a league matchup that happened in. So we ended up losing anyways, but still, like, it happens is what I'm trying to say.
Obelisk down again on the top lane for 114K. This one march, they have a double C march kind of dedicated to just tapping that Obelisk. Now, I will say at this late in the game, it's probably not as advantageous considering everybody is ported at this point. But it's not a concerted push. So it's not like they're able to hold it. They're just tapping it with a double C. To me, that's a wasted march. They should be killing provisioners, which is what it looks like he's going out to do again. But I mean, I guess if it's there, go ahead and take it. Stop 20 points per minute from generating every once in a while. But yeah, I think that's probably a wasted effort at this point in the match with you being down by 4,000 points. 114K needs to have a solid structure game, holding and pushing, and they need this last Ark, Chisco.
They do. This is now a make or break situation for 114K. Doubly so. They have to get this arc, make or break for the game, and that is also make or break for their continuation in this league. And with 15 minutes remaining, 5 minutes and 30 seconds left until the arc spawns, there is an abundance of time to actually have the arc spawn and to score it. So I think that it's still possible with a sufficient structure game, a sufficient provisioning game, which we know coming into this match, their top provisioner had a very, very, very high cumulative provisioning score.
That's very true.
That's something that they're probably doing, and I could go look, although...
Yeah, there's definitely provisioning happening on the blue side.
Not a ton. As I cruise through, like I actually, a couple caravans are populated, but maybe not as many as I would have expected, Drago.
Yeah, I'm seeing maybe 5 or 6. They do have, again, 44E does have a march on the top lane, kind of tapping around and killing some of these provisioners and coming back to tap the obelisk and then going back out to tap more provisioners. So it is annoying to deal with if you're a provisioner and that's your main gig and you're trying to get some points for your team. You got this double C primary running around doing their best farm killer method here and trying to get all your stuff out of the way. 114K, they've got a tall hill to go up here. 4,000 point delta in favor of 44E right now. It is an even match points per minute wise. But again, I think like you said, if they can win 114, here's the victory path, right? So you always ask me this towards the end of the match.
How do we win from here?
Yeah, how do we win from here? So 114K needs to get this next arc. That'll be 4,000 points right off the bat. I'm sorry, that's 4,500 point arc coming in, right? 4,500 point arc coming in. That would help win, but they also need to have a solid provisioning score behind it. If they just hold their structures, have a solid provisioning, get that arc, it's going to be down to the wire, but they should win with that strategy. Problem is, if 44E decides to push, I mean, they have been shown to push these structures and take them when they want to. So 44E just needs to make sure they don't let off the gas pedal and make sure they at least don't let 114K get the arc. I think that'll be their path for victory.
Yeah, right. All they need to do is stall. I think that's a really good point. They don't even have to score it. But I think that there's also so long, like 9.5 minutes, that it will be hard to stall an arc for that long. Like, it's happened, but it's a difficult play. And I feel like maybe they're just all standing in the same pixel, but
yeah,
I feel like 114 is a little outnumbered, no?
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's looking very strong for 44E. Now, keep in mind, guys, both of these teams have used to the death, so what's left? I mean, we've got Heaven's Grace. I mean, we talked about sneaky tactics earlier. Maybe there's a little sneaky tactics action going on. I don't know.
I worry for 114 here because we know that they've got a lot of building assault skills on their bar. And I just don't know that if they even had the points, which I'm not sure they do after both teams immediately capped the arc and the to the death was used. But even if they had the points, I don't know what ability they could bust out. As you were describing, like sneaky tactics is a cool ability, but 5 points, I just don't know that they would even have more than like 6 total. So is sneaky tactics where you would put them? It's probably just like mystical formation and war drums here, right?
Yeah, I think Heaven's Grace could spell a difference here if one of them has it.
Totally.
Even with war drums and mystical formation, I think that Heaven's Grace would be a better play here. And using the same points, by the way. So heavy push for 44E.
Yeah. 1 minute and 52 seconds, more than enough time to close the distance between where they are and the temple area. There's the mystical formation war drums play that we were just discussing. And is the heal going to happen? I don't see a Heaven's Grace active just yet. And the ball is committed.
Yeah,
there it is.
Heaven's Grace being used.
Red numbers, red numbers, red numbers.
That's right. That's right.
I mean,
see, here's going to be the problem for 44E. Now, they have engaged, and it looks like they are kind of winning the match. Look at all those blue marches going back with sad faces. 1:15 until this arc spawns. They're going to have to continue to go through this ball of blue, though. But I think they're doing enough to make it to where it's not as bad as it could have been. I'm zooming out here, and it looks very even-ish still for both sides, even though more have gone back for 114K.
It really does feel that way, doesn't it? Like, yeah. It's like a 2-to-1 ratio or more for 114K going home. And that's not to say, like, look, like you kind of want your enemy to have low health marches that can't refresh.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, with only 40 seconds till Ark spawns anyways, like it's not like those marches, if you kill them, are going to refresh and be able to get back to the middle to make a difference at all, really.
Yep.
So, I mean, 44E, I think the story here is they just are winning these mid fights and holding off enough in the building game that they're ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again, 44E taking the obelisk on the top lane. Again, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but 20 points per minute for the last probably 15 minutes has gone untaken by 114K. That does stack up quite a little bit whenever you're talking about the closeness of this match and what it could be. 44E, though, if they grab this Ark, which just spawned, and it looks like they should, considering the presence that they've got around. Now, I will say they probably should take it back to a different structure this time. Maybe the outpost or maybe the Shrine of War. Or we just, if we're going to do it, let's just do it, right? Going back to the Desert Altar.
Oh my gosh. 114K did get the Ark temporarily, although you can see 44E has full presence on the field here. So
yeah, they've got
it's really only one way this Ark is going to go, back toward a red building. But which red building? I mean, I would put money that it's going back to that same altar mound. I would bet money that that's where it's going, or Oryx, as it were.
I mean, 114K is already positioning 5, 6, 7 marches that direction right now, and there's probably a rally there too.
If you're 114K, like this play is so forecast for where they're gonna go. Like every march, you would say like all marches refresh to Desert Altar, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going Desert Altar. Like there has been zero variation the whole game, and I don't see them changing now. And these marches in blue are doing exactly what they need to do. Just knock down that double C carrier, make something a little slower. I have to pick that up, stall a little bit. Give me some time, baby, to get that rally going on the Desert Altar, get those marches down there. Honestly, you may have seen this mid-fight and thought, uh-oh, like the fight's over, and I'll go watch something else. But no. We may see some serious fireworks yet at this freaking altar, where I think that's the action. That's where it's going to be.
That's all they need to do. Just go to the outpost and they're fine. 8 minutes left in the match. And speaking of rally is incoming to that Desert Altar. And more troops actually avoiding the Desert Altar to take that and instead going towards the Ark carrier, which is still dead center in the middle. So, I mean, the Ark is controlled currently by 44E, at least for the moment. But more and more marches coming in towards the middle for 114K. Now they're starting to fear a little bit to try and take that Desert Altar.
This is heating up.
Yep.
This is actually heating up. Relentless Siege now active for 114K. The building capture ability has been activated. I mean, I think they're really going to go for this thing. And I think that if 44E doesn't just make a slight tweak to their game plan for where to score this thing, they're going to walk right into danger.
Yep. This is going to go down. They need to go towards the outpost.
Now, remember, I was saying earlier that there wasn't enough time to refresh to the middle with taking out all those 114K marches. But with the amount of times that they've stalled the carrier now, it's been enough time to swing down lane, which is what they've done. And this is now really problematic for 44E. And they are realizing maybe we should think about a new capture point. Yeah.
There are other buildings on the map that we may be able to utilize. Down again is that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 114K was like, hey, bring it back to that altar again. See how that goes for you. Right? They are there. They have learned from the last few arcs.
They may start to bring it towards the Desert Altar. That's still okay. Now it is in favor of 114K. They have that Desert Altar, although they did lose the Shrine of War. That could be something to think about, considering there's a lot of open field fighting happening right now. 44E has the buffs that 114K does not. That is something to think about there. Lots of people trying to grab that Ark. It is down currently. Whoever gets it, there it is. Luna is on point for 44E grabbing that Ark.
Give that Ark carrier a contract. Holy moly.
That's a kingdom chest if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. There's the expression. Give that Ark carrier a kingdom chest. That's the one.
There goes Luna.
That is a fast carrier. And
now
they're going to an outpost. Now, Drago, the only thing I feel about as uncomfortable for a capture point as an altar is an outpost. Yep. So They didn't need to score this. They just needed to stall it. And instead, we've now once again brought the Ark next to a building that has a very, very, very high risk of being taken. I am anxious.
I mean, this reminds me, this match, you know what this match reminds me of? It reminds me of pre-Osiris League. This reminds me of like when Ark of Osiris first came out and everybody took the Ark back to the outpost, or everybody took it back to the desert altar, and there was just at the very final minutes of the game, if you captured it, you win. If you don't capture it, you lose. That's exactly what we're watching unfold right in front of us here. This is a 4,500 point Ark, guys. So we have provisioning to keep in mind. Basically, 60 players of marches are coming to this one spot that can only be manned in this structure of 500,000 troops, which is traditionally 2 marches, 2 players, and 60 are here with at least 3 marches coming in, even more. You're not even going to be able to see the outpost here. That could be the deciding factor.
4 minutes is more than enough time.
Oh, yeah.
For something to go completely sideways with this Ark. I mean, they've even got their T1 siege units in this march. They are throwing everything they have in the kitchen sink. Let's go. I don't think it's a provisioner. I think they might have targeted a gathering node and then
they probably
accidentally ended up with siege. There's Luna. Luna Kingdom chest. Grabbing the Ark.
That's the thing. There's no doubt about it. And well, it's not moving. It was stationary, so the lag might be real here, but it's not moving right now. 3 minutes 30 seconds until this match is over, and it's only about a probably 40 second walk towards that outpost. But again, I can't even. I think that it's still 44 E's to lose. That Ark is.
How are they going to get it into this building?
I mean, the building's full. I can guarantee that.
I don't know. Maybe they got it. Nope. They're standing at the door. Knock, knock. Need a space. Hey, guys, give me a space in the altar. Give me a space in the outpost.
We run into the problem of when you leave it, then 114K could take it. And now the Ark's down. Now 114K can take it. Now they can start pouring troops in and grab the Ark and grab it. Oh,
You did this once, right, Drago?
Yes.
You did literally this.
I took it in front of their face and held it for the last 30 seconds of the match.
Yeah. And you scored it at their outpost, right?
Their outpost, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the danger zone right here. And I do feel like 44E, to their credit, have enough presence that they're probably okay.
Yeah, they have the Ark.
They now have enough presence that it's probably fine. But it's still just a lot of risk that they did not need to incur for really no upside.
Still not in. Now he's going the other way. He's going a different direction.
Yeah, no, you should leave this area. I think you should just leave this area with the Ark.
2 minutes left.
This is not where you needed to go, and there they scored it.
Is.
Wow. Just so risky. I mean, the reward is there, but also you could just score it in a player city and get the same reward, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
There was no time crunch to have to run it to this location.
Huge letdown from 44E here. No emojis being thrown.
Oh my God! Stop it! You want the brags? You're let down because there's no brags.
Like that, it's so anticlimactic without some emojis. So,
okay.
This is really why the emojis were put into the game, is for situations like this.
Okay, Drago, tongue in cheek. Let's go.
But I mean, obviously, huge secure for 44E. That's I mean, again, unless there's a 10,000 point provisioning drop here happening very shortly, which they did just drop a couple thousand here. So, hold the phone a little bit, but 114K has got a very uphill battle to go here. Now, I will say, if this is less than a 4,500 point win for 44E, that means that if they would have at least just made sure 44E didn't capture it, they could have won. And it was very, very close here to the last minute and a half. 36,000 points to 42,000. That's only 6,000 points. 1,500 point difference here in the 114K favor could have been the difference.
Yeah, I mean, only 48 seconds left. Provisioners are assuredly on their way home, but I have a hard time fathoming Provisioners making up this amount of a score difference. I mean, 6,000 points. Yeah. And I imagine, not that a Provisioner couldn't pull down that much, or multiple, that is, but I think that some amount of that provisioning is already scored,
Yep. 26 seconds left. 114K doing everything they can to take some more structures, and they're doing that. They have all 4 altars, but again, with only 20 seconds left, there's just no value there. You're stopping the point generation for the other team, but you're not gaining anything by generating points for yourself. Wow, what a close, solid match. And 44E, going to take the victory here, Chisco, with really solid middle play. That's what ended up happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had a solid building game. I think 114K went in on the building plan more heavily, but at the cost of their Ark game, and I think that cost them Arks.
Wow.
And I think perhaps they could have contested mid, but that's just not where they committed. And the play by 44E, securing all those Arks, got them the win.
That was a very fun match to watch towards the end. And those types of matches I love seeing when those happen. It's a little confusing sometimes because you don't necessarily know what the future play is more than the current play that you're watching at the time. But those matches are always so fun to watch because they always come down to the last second, like we just saw. And wow, what a victory for 44E, moving on to the next round in the playoffs. 114K getting eliminated and ending their run here. But what a match to go out on. That was very solid. 44E winning all those arcs. That's what you're seeing right there. That 15,000 point number is really the key to victory for 44E.
Yeah. I've said this before. You've got to win buildings or you've got to win arcs. And 44E, they won those arcs. And the occupation score is impressive for 114K, but just not 3 arcs impressive. Maybe. I mean, it's 1 arc impressive, right?
Yeah.
But not 3. And that's the difference maker there. And also, look at the total kills. Wow. That is demonstration probably of the effectiveness of that midfield grinder that they had set up there, just chewing through the 114K marches and spitting out those sad faces, which you saw in that mid fight.
Wow. That was a very fun match to watch. And as this match was ending, I went ahead and took the liberty and the opportunity of going to the schedule and seeing what some of the other matches that we were possibly going to be watching on this channel did. And I don't think we would have been disappointed with either one of the choices that we made. PX34 edging out 93T Toxic Tigers by 700 points to take the victory, and OV almost losing to 1008 by only 2,900 points victory did OV take that win. So we had a fantastic set of matches for you guys to watch today, and we did not disappoint. These guys didn't disappoint us, I should say, and hopefully we did not disappoint you in our casting. I am excited to see how this continues as we go deeper into the Osiris League Season 5 playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick look at the scores. I'm not sure if this Mimi match was earlier today or just happened, but 39,000 to 35,600.
It just happened.
Close match.
Yep.
64 RL. Pretty big differential there between 1008 Beagles. Wow. PX34 had a good comeback against the Toxic Tigers. That was a very close match. 1,300 point differential. That is shockingly close. And 1008 Lifestyle versus OV. Shockingly close match. There were a lot of really good matches this round, and now the schedule is in many ways determined for the next set of battles here. In fact, I guess we can just wait until they populate in who's going to be in each of those spots.
Yeah.
But it is knowable what that final bracket's going to be.
Yeah, that could be manually done. We're not going to do it right now because that's going to take like an hour. But there is, you should see in the next day or two, you should see everybody start to populate their particular bracket. I'm really anxious to see who gets matched up with who now that the groups are done and we're in the one and done phase, and we're looking to see who can win the finals and get there, and then ultimately take that trophy and that badge home.
One last thing before we wrap up, and by the way, if you've been enjoying the stream, consider throwing a like onto this live stream and subscribing to the channel. Also, the link is in the description for Dragothian and my channels, where we create frequently daily Rise of Kingdoms videos designed to help you get value and smash your enemies. Let's go. One last thing before we kind of wrap up. Look at this 2-2-2-0 configuration for Group H.
Yep.
This is a point differential situation, right?
Song lost to BLN. That's exactly, I was referencing that earlier. 2-2-2 on that one. There's another one in Realm of Anubis, I think, or Realm of Bastet that had all ones. 1-1-1-1 for all 4 teams.
No way. I didn't even know that was achievable.
Yes. This was an incredible playoff group round. This is probably the most contentious one I've seen across all the different realms. What a crazy match. And Song almost losing their spot to BLN. BLN beating Song, to me, that should be the qualifier, not a point total, not a power total. It should be heads up match. If you beat that person that's above you, you should be above that person. That's just the way I think it. That's what it should be.
But it does look like they have selected the two that are going to advance, right? The ones that are in green have advanced.
That's correct.
Is that right? Okay. So the point differential is higher, and it does look like the Song's average score is higher. So I guess that might be representative of that differential as well. Wow. Really crazy. Drago, thanks for casting this with me, and thank you all for being here. This is a great stream. Any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
Oh, man, I'm just looking across, and I'm seeing some very positive things happening for my bets this week. So for those of you out there that are into that kind of thing, very, very strong performance, and looking forward to seeing how these guys play. Again, I mean, we were just talking about it. All these realms are just so detailed and evenly matched across the groups here. I'm looking to see all these new teams coming in towards the realms and seeing who ends up coming out victorious.
Okay. Well, if you enjoyed this live stream of Ark of Osiris League, subscribe so you don't miss next week's hot matches. It is exciting as we make our way to the finals. And until next time, you have fun, smash your enemies, and we'll see you all real soon for more Ark of Osiris League.